Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're taking an unassuming notebook, sliding it into our pocket, and realizing that everything we thought we knew about doors, about reality, and, well, about time is fundamentally incorrect.
We're jumping into a clandestine world of secret knowledge and deadly conflict, and it's all fueled entirely by these special volumes of magic.
This is our deep dive into the world of the Book of Doors, based on the narrative threads woven by Gareth Brown.
And this dive is so fascinating because the sources give us, the blueprint for a full-scale magical war, but they ground it in an incredibly intimate story.
Right.
We follow Cassie, a regular employee at a New York bookstore who just stumbles into this reality-altering conflict.
So our mission is to synthesize the rules of this hidden world,
Yeah.
the mechanical function of these books.
And to understand how this quiet, unassuming woman becomes the essential piece of a global existential arms race. It's a huge journey for her.
It's that classic juxtaposition, isn't it? The cozy, everyday setting versus these impossible, reality-breaking stakes. Okay, let's unpack this journey, starting exactly where the magic begins, in a quiet corner of Kellner Books.
The setting here is everything. Kellner Books is Cassie's refuge, is her safe space.
Yeah, she works there, surrounded by the comfort of paper and ink. It's where she meets her regulars, the people who, keep her day's routine and peaceful.
And among them is Mr. Weber.
Mr. Weber. He's introduced not as some mysterious, magical figure, but as just an ordinary gentleman. Softly spoken, always neatly dressed.
And profoundly lonely. You get this immediate sense that the bookstore isn't just a place he shops. It's the anchor in his life.
It's his community.
It's the closest thing he has to one, yeah. And the sources layer in just enough backstory to make him instantly memorable. He wasn't just a quiet gentleman, he was a retired pianist and composer.
And crucially, he'd made a small fortune composing theme tunes. The really recognizable, catchy jingles for 1990s television series.
Right. You can almost hear them. And he lived a rich life. He loved Rome. He traveled expensively. And we learn he was involved in that famous anecdote about being caught naked in his hotel room near the Trevi Fountain.
I love that detail. It's so human. It tells you that even in his quiet retirement, this was a man who contained multitudes,
Exactly. A person who had seen and done things, but who, at this point, had retreated into this gentle, bookish solitude that history makes his ending all the more poignant.
Absolutely. The catalyst, as you said, is the quiet death. He dies right there in the store.
Just peacefully, sitting at his usual table with his head tilted.
And Cassie finds the death deeply sad, yet there's this small, comforting realization that, well, he died exactly where he wanted to be.
Surrounded by books and the gentle hum of the literary world he loved. It's a good death, in a way.
But his death leaves behind two objects of intense, immediate significance. First, there's the emotional anchor,
His heavily read copy of The Count of Monte Cristo.
which hits Cassie with this unexpected force, like a punch in the gut, signaling that something important has ended.
And that emotional connection is the perfect distraction, really, for the actual magical mechanism to slip into place. The second object is the artifact itself.
A small, unassuming, brown, leather-covered book.
Yeah.
It's faded and cracked.
Described almost like weathered paint on an ancient, forgotten door. It looks like a relic, maybe an old journal.
Right. Not a weapon of mass reality alteration.
Not at all. Magic hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. So Cassie, moved by the emotion of the moment, and maybe a sudden burst of inappropriate curiosity, she tucks the slim notebook away.
And it's only when she's back in the solitude of her apartment that she opens it.
And she reads the chillingly simple inscription on the front. Any door is every door.
That phrase is the key. And the contents are just as cryptic. Scribbled text, but in the center.
Over 100 meticulously drawn doorways in neat rows, enigmatic and inviting. They look like architect sketches, not magical runes.
Which leads directly to the first test. And it's such a visceral sensory experience. She's staring at her apartment hallway door.
Just a normal door.
A normal door. But she's thinking intensely about a specific cobbled street and a specific doorway from a trip to Venice years earlier. She reaches out,
Opens her New York hallway door.
and steps through to the quiet, dark, rain-glistening street in Italy.
The sources convey that immediate, paralyzing sense of dislocation. It's not just visual, it's the cold, damp air, the specific scent of the street.
Her brain just struggles to reconcile it all, the physical location of her body versus the location of her senses.
The famous quote from the sources captures that shock perfectly. My body was in New York, but my hand was in Venice.
It's that instant rupture of physical laws that immediately tells you, the listener, that this book is not a clever trick. This is fundamental magic.
And what does Cassie do, as any modern New Yorker would?
She calls her best friend Izzy.
Of course. Izzy is her witty roommate, works at Bloomingdale's, a grounded, pragmatic person noted for her beauty and high cheekbones.
A perfect foil for Cassie, and they immediately start testing the limits of this discovery.
The initial joyride is pure wonder. They skip across the city instantaneously.
Teleporting to the library hotel rooftop where they marvel at the blur of city lights and dance in the snow.
And then to Ben's Deli, where they'd met their rental agent years before. It's used initially for convenience and thrills.
But this is where Izzy's role as the pragmatic one becomes so critical. While she's initially giddy with excitement, exclaiming, "A magic book, why not?"
Yeah.
That quickly fades into skepticism and a deep, intuitive fear. She gets it. This isn't a game.
That dual reaction signals that the honeymoon period with this magical artifact is already over.
And Izzy's fear acts as an immediate narrative warning. She tells Cassie, point blank, not to play with it.
She urges her to find out more about its origin or Mr. Weber. She understands that something this powerful doesn't just fall into your lap without massive consequences.
Cassie, however, is still in problem-solving mode. She tries to use the book to open Mr. Weber's apartment door, which is locked tight, and she fails.
And this failure is so important. It establishes the first essential rule of the Book of Doors, beyond just, visualization.
The Book of Doors doesn't work on imagination. It works on sensory focus and memory. To successfully transition, Cassie has to recall the door not as an image, but as a three-dimensional sensory experience.
The cold metal of the knob.
The specific sound of the rattle of the lock, the faint screech of the hinges. She needs to recall the door as an intimate, physical object to make the connection.
It's a fantastic mechanism. It means the magic requires a personal, emotional investment in the door, not just the destination. And this detail I found absolutely fascinating.
The drawing changing.
Yes. When she uses the book successfully to enter the apartment building by transforming a mundane Citibank doorway, the drawing in the Book of Doors instantly changes to show the exact hallway she's standing in.
This constant dynamic transformation suggests the book is less a map and more a responsive recorder. It's adapting and logging every journey the user takes. It's alive.
It's constantly learning its own capabilities and the user's trajectory. But even as Cassie is learning the rules, the conflict this book belongs to is already moving toward her.
Which brings us to Drummond Fox, the librarian.
He is our entry point into the established magical world. When we first meet him, he's tired, old, and constantly wandering Washington Square Park.
Haunted by the loss of his friends 10 years earlier, he is a man defined by guilt and evasion.
He is the protector, perpetually on the run. He had to sacrifice everything a decade prior. And the 3 books he carries reflect a life dedicated to survival and stealth.
They really illustrate the diversity of magic in this world beyond just teleportation.
First, the Book of Shadows. Item 001 of Fox Library. This is pure, immediate defense.
He tears a corner of the page, disappears instantly into the shadows, and he's hidden until that scrap of paper disintegrates.
The sources tell us he acquired it from a former British soldier who was also a jewelry thief.
A perfect lineage for a tool of high-stakes evasion.
Then there is the Book of Memories, which is maybe the most subtle but powerful psychological tool.
It's used to make people forget he was ever there. The inscription is critical here, outlining its 3 functions. Share it, to share a memory, give it to give a memory, and take it to take a memory.
It allows him to sanitize his existence. It makes him effectively invisible to the memory of his pursuers. He can just wipe himself from their minds.
And finally, he carries the simplest book, the Book of Luck, designed solely to bring him good fortune.
He is a man fighting an impossible war, so he needs all the cosmic help he can get. These artifacts are not offensive weapons.
No, they're the tools of a weary fugitive, a survivor.
And his sanctuary, the Fox Library, sounds like something out of a classic mystery. A large country house built of red sandstone in the Scottish Highlands.
Complete with a tower and archway entrance filled with dark wood paneling and endless bookcases. But he hasn't been there in 10 years.
Right. He used magic to hide the entire library in the shadows. It's a symbol of the peaceful life he sacrificed and hopes to reclaim.
And what drove him into this decade-long exile? The adversaries. This magical arms race is defined by 2 exceptionally dangerous figures, starting with Dr. Hugo Barbary.
Barbary is the hunter. The book collector focused on sheer, brutal power. He's described as a monster dressed up like a gentleman.
He's the one who cornered Drummond Fox in the park, and his books of choice immediately tell us his priorities.
The Book of Pain, which he calls his favorite, and the Book of Control. He doesn't want knowledge or travel. He wants dominion and sadism.
But the true force of nature is the woman, Rachel Belrose.
She's the primary antagonist, defined by an insatiable hunger for the books. She is terrifyingly efficient, emotionless, and finds pleasure in inflicting suffering.
The description of her is chilling. She's like a portrait of a woman, beautiful but without life. She's the one responsible for the 2012 massacre that shattered Drummond's life.
And she is meticulous in her collection. She keeps 6 of her 7 books locked in a heavy iron safe in the basement of a remote timber cabin in the Arkansas Valley in Georgia.
It shows that even with immense power, she still values security and control. She's not reckless.
We also have the essential neutral party, Lottie Moore, the bookseller in New Orleans.
Opportunistic and purely self-interested. She acts as the conduit for transactions, arranging high-stakes auctions for these special volumes.
She's the black market broker who keeps the economy of magic functioning.
To truly understand the trauma and the desperation that fuels Drummond, though, we have to look closely at the event that defined the war. The Bryant Park Massacre.
Drummond eventually shows Cassie this moment from 2012 via the Book of Doors, using its time travel capacity.
And that scene is designed to horrify and to educate. The woman doesn't hesitate. She appears in a sudden mist.
Suggesting the use of the Book of Mists.
Right. Her immediate action is to press a book into Lily's hand, causing Lily to writhe in agony, her head smashing repeatedly on the pavement.
This is the Book of Pain in action. Pure, weaponized suffering.
Another of Drummond's friends, Yasmin, fights back. She uses the Book of Light, manifesting a bright yellow glow that frames her like an outline, attempting to blind or incapacitate the woman.
But she is quickly overwhelmed and destroyed. This confirms that these books are designed for lethal conflict.
And this leads to Drummond's defining, crushing moment of moral horror. He knows he can't fight her.
He flees. He uses the Book of Shadows, leaving Lily, Wagner, and Yasmin to die.
The narrative makes it clear this was a conscious, agonizing sacrifice made to prevent the woman from gaining his books.
It cements the fact that these magical artifacts are valued above human life.
And that burden of guilt is what makes him so old and tired when Cassie finally meets him a decade later.
Once those stakes are established, the next crucial element is the mechanism that makes the Book of Doors so sought after. Its capacity to open a door not just across space, but across time.
It's the ultimate capability, and it's revealed by Drummond after Cassie successfully takes him to the hidden Fox library.
They test it immediately, traveling to a deeply personal place for Cassie, her childhood home in Myrtle Creek, Oregon.
They step through a doorway and find themselves inside Matt's All-American Burgers diner back in 2012, before her beloved grandfather died.
This capacity instantly rips open the classical science fiction debate regarding time travel. Drummond's physicist friend, Wagner, had spent years debating this at the Fox Library.
Is time open, meaning it's malleable and changeable? Or is it closed, meaning it's fixed?
Wagner, the trusted intellectual, believed absolutely in the closed model. The theory is stark and absolute.
If they go back and interact with the past, say, warning the grandfather, it won't change their present reality because whatever they did in the past already happened that way.
They're simply fulfilling the history they currently know. They're not changing anything, they're just playing their part.
It's an important philosophical anchor for the story. Drummond, the literature specialist, admits he only grasped the core concept vaguely, but he trusts Wagner's intellect completely.
This fixed time framework removes the threat of grand paradoxes. They can't fundamentally erase themselves, but it replaces it with a far more insidious emotional dilemma.
Precisely. The Godakes aren't physical, they're deeply emotional. Cassie uses this theory to justify her intense need to go and visit her grandfather.
She attempts to warn him about his health, even revealing she is from the future, hoping to change the course of his final years.
But the past, as Wagner predicted, is stubborn. Her grandfather refuses to listen, accepting his fate and gently deflecting her attempts to interfere.
And it's here that he delivers the wisdom that becomes her guidepost for the next decade.
He tells her not to waste your life hidden away in your own mind.
He emphasizes that happiness isn't something that happens to you. It must be chosen and pursued, in spite of everything else. And, most importantly, she must learn to let things go.
This is the moment of her true education. She realizes the crushing weight of Wagner's theory. She can't change the past because her present existence, including the very memories that allow her to operate the Book of Duels, depends on those exact events. painful though they were.
She feels the chain that couldn't be broken.
The emotional weight of that realization is immediately overshadowed by a horrifying narrative shift. After their time journey to witness the Bryant Park massacre, Cassie and Drummond attempt to return to their present time in New York to check on Izzy.
And they are ambushed immediately by Dr. Barbary.
Barbary captures the coveted Book of Doors, but he doesn't just steal it. He weaponizes the time travel feature against Cassie as a deliberate act of cruel vengeance.
He throws her through the doorway into the past, specifically a parking garage.
This single action is a narrative detonation. Cassie is stranded in 2012. 10 years in the past, completely without money, without identification.
With no way to contact the future. She is physically disconnected from her life. Her only option, her only anchor, is the chilling realization that she must wait a full decade until Mr. Weber receives the Book of Doors in his own timeline.
And this is the section that requires serious development as it defines Cassie's entire maturity. What do you do when you are forced to wait 10 years for your life to resume?
She approaches the 2012 version of Mr. Weber, a man full of life, not yet lonely.
And she has to convince him of the impossible. She uses her future knowledge, the specific, embarrassing, charming details, like the story of him being caught naked in Rome, to try and prove her sanity.
He shelters her, though the sources suggest he never fully believed the entirety of her futuristic tale. Who would?
Their relationship blooms into a deep, quiet friendship over the next 10 years. They bond over books, over companionship, over shared stories.
This decade isn't just wasted time. It's where Cassie learns the lesson her grandfather taught her, to stop hiding in her own mind.
Her youthful impatience slowly fades as she settles into the contented, bookish routine she shared with Weber. She becomes a completely different person.
Grounded, patient, and prepared. This period provides her with the emotional resilience she needs for the coming war.
And the time loop closes in a moment of profound, necessary emotional manipulation. Cassie, knowing the exact timing of his death, leaves Mr. Weber just moments before he is due to die in 2022.
But because she has been living in his past, she uses her unique position to ensure she gives him the Book of Doors in his final moments.
She hands him the book, he writes his farewell inscription to his past self, and she sits with him, holding his hand as he passes.
So she is closing the loop. She experiences his death a second time, but this time it's not agonizing grief. It's a moment of gentle closure and acceptance.
It confirms that she cannot change history, but she can change the way she experiences it. This 10-year sacrifice ensures that the story starts exactly as it should, but with a far more prepared Cassie emerging to continue the fight.
That fixed time travel loop may be the most powerful function of the Book of Doors. But the true threat in this hidden war lies in the variety and horror of the other special books.
They aren't tools of transit. They are artifacts of pure, weaponized concepts.
Let's start with the most barbaric. The Book of Pain, Barbary's favorite weapon and interrogation device.
Its mechanism is designed to produce absolute sensory agony. When Barbary uses it against Izzy, trying to shake loose memories of Cassie, the description is chilling.
The air around the book pulses with deep, sickening colors, red, green, and purple. The book physically becomes heavy and hot.
But the pain is auditory and tactile. A low-volume screeching sound spreads from her hands throughout her body, escalating until she is physically overwhelmed, rocking and screaming.
It demonstrates its efficacy as a monstrous control tool. Just absolutely brutal.
In stark contrast, we have the beautiful artistic power of the Book of Illusion, owned by Izzy.
Izzy is a fascinating character in his own right. A third-generation Japanese-American artist who chose creativity over his family's wish for him to pursue medicine or engineering. His book is a reflection of his artistic nature.
His book allows him to create elaborate, absolute illusions. And these aren't just mirages, they are so real, they are felt, touched, and smelled.
He demonstrates it initially on a small scale, creating an illusion of a plate of food that his partner Lund can actually interact with, only to reveal the source is just a simple scribbled drawing in the book.
But the scale of his compassion and his book's power is breathtaking. In a truly moving passage, he creates a realistic, full-scale illusion of the Sagrada Familia right in the desolate Chilean desert.
For an elderly ill woman, Miss Paccio, who is physically unable to travel to Spain due to multiple sclerosis.
It's a use of magic for profound emotional good rather than violence. It's beautiful.
And the Book of Illusion proves crucial for survival. Later, Izzy unknowingly uses the book she had hidden during the final confrontation to save her life.
She creates the illusion that she had been shot in the head. The book responds to her subconscious need for defense, creating a realistic, gruesome scene that convinces the woman to leave her for dead.
Now, swinging back to the dark side, let's examine the Book of Matter, the woman's preferred method of execution.
If the Book of Pain inflicts psychological agony, the Book of Matter grants physical, gruesome dominion over the environment and the human body.
The sources provide horrific examples of its use. She uses it to soften the concrete floor in her basement, making it liquid, and then re-solidifies it around one of her victims.
Drowning him instantly in place, it's horrifying.
Even more chillingly, she liquidizes another victim's cells until the skin drips away from the bones. The books are, quite literally, artifacts of creative, weaponized cruelty.
And in the grand finale, the woman wields the Book of Despair. Its presentation is unique. The pages are stitched together to form a flowing skirt of crow's feathers,
Which activates and glows when the power is used.
Its function is purely metaphysical. It strips away hope, color, and intention, filling the target with absolute, paralyzing despair.
For Cassie, it forces her into the loop of remembering her grandfather's most painful moments of death, trapping her in monochrome agony and existential paralysis.
The breaking of this spell is incredibly symbolic. Izzy, seeing the feathered skirt, pulls out cigarette lighter and sets the book on fire.
The physical destruction of the artifact instantly breaks the spell, causing the woman to scream in genuine fury as her psychic weapon is turned to ash.
Beyond these core primary weapons, the sources confirm a wider, secondary magical arms race, where utility and defense are key.
We mentioned the bookseller Lottie Moore possesses the Book of Safety. This is crucial to her business model.
Exactly. The Book of Safety grants her total, unassailable neutrality. It means she cannot be robbed or forcefully controlled in her New Orleans operations.
It's how she manages to stay alive and profitable despite brokering deals for the world's most dangerous items.
Then you have the longevity books, like the Book of Health, also called the Book of Vim and Vigor, used by Elizabeth Fraser, who has lived for over 120 years.
Barbary also uses this to restore his stamina after time travel. It emphasizes that not all books are for violence. Some are for simple, profound self-preservation.
And finally, books like the Book of Faces, utilized by the assassin Diego for industrial espionage, allowing him to look like anyone, or the Book of Joy and Book of Mists.
These details reinforce the scope of this hidden world. Every human concept, every emotional state, has potentially been manifested and weaponized into a physical, magical volume.
So Cassie returns from her decade in the past, a mature woman ready for war. She immediately teams up with Drummond, Izzy, Lund, and Azaki.
And they develop this intricate, high-stakes, 5-part plan to retrieve the stolen Book of Doors and finally neutralize the woman.
The first step is the audacity of key action 1, retrieval. They decide to follow the woman back to her highly secure cabin in Georgia, and they use the ultimate capability of the Book of Doors to achieve the impossible heist.
Instead of trying to break into the cabin or the basement safe, Cassie uses the Book of Doors to target the safe itself.
She opens a door in New York that, when stepped through, opens directly onto the safe's 2-foot square recess in the solid wall of the woman's basement.
They simply reach in and steal the woman's entire collected library, including the Book of Matter.
It's a perfect demonstration of the Book of Doors' power. It doesn't care about structural integrity or locks. It cares only about the door connection. It lets them bypass her entire security system.
Key action 2 follows immediately. The illusion. They know the woman will immediately notice the theft, so Azaki creates highly realistic temporary illusions of the stolen books.
Ensuring they feel, look, and even smell real enough for a brief time, maybe a day, and they place these fakes back in the safe.
This sets up key action 3. The lure. Cassie contacts Lottie Moore, the bookseller, and arranges a high-profile auction in New York.
They calculate the woman is about a 13-hour drive away in Georgia. The woman, driven by her insatiable hunger, will race back, unaware she is traveling 13 hours to retrieve a set of convincing but worthless fakes.
The confrontation takes place in the abandoned Macintosh Hotel ballroom, a forgotten place that Lottie Moore has modified for these clandestine auctions. The entire group is hidden behind Azaki's illusion magic, waiting.
But the trap fails instantly. It demonstrates the woman's deep, almost intimate knowledge of her books. She arrives, looks at the auction stage,
and immediately vaporizes the illusions with a touch. She says chillingly, "I know how they feel," confirming that her connection to the books is fundamental, not just material.
The ensuing melee is chaos. The woman shoots Izzy in the head. This moment of extreme trauma forces a subconscious act of survival.
Izzy, having buried the Book of Illusion for safety after fleeing New York, unconsciously uses it in that moment of certain death to create the illusion of her own death, complete with a convincing bullet wound.
The woman leaves, believing the threat is neutralized. Izzy, after the team flees and she reveals she is alive, confirms that the Book of Illusion responded to her primal survival instinct.
She also confirms she used a hidden cigarette lighter to destroy the woman's Book of Despair skirt, removing a key weapon.
This moment of perceived loss, Izzy's death, drives Cassie to her ultimate breakthrough. She opens a door and flees, not to a place, but to the nothing and nowhere.
A state of pure unreality, a space outside of conventional time and space.
It is in this profound, isolated state that the ultimate metaphysical twist occurs. Cassie's consciousness realizes that her own raw memories, her immense emotions, her joy, her despair, her pain, were all too overwhelming for her to contain.
This extreme psychic energy, described in the sources as the rainbow scream, had to be expelled.
The act of creation is revealed. She used this overwhelming personal energy to project and create the special books. She scattered them throughout reality and time to contain the fragments of her chaotic, overwhelming life.
The Book of Pain is her suppressed grief. The Book of Joy is her ecstatic memories. And the Book of Doors is her need for escape and movement.
This synthesizes the entire story. The source of all magic, all this reality-altering power, is not ancient cosmic forces, but Cassie herself.
They are artifacts of highly concentrated human emotion projected into reality. This gives her an intimate parental understanding of the books and their weaknesses.
With this knowledge, Cassie returns, empowered to end the conflict. She confronts the woman, not by engaging in a physical battle, but by using her own creation against her.
She leads the woman to open a door to the nothing and nowhere, sending her to the very place where the books were created, a place of pure, overwhelming, unfiltered emotion that the woman, the emotionless portrait of a person, cannot possibly survive.
The second tyrant, Hugo Barbary, who had time-traveled 50 years into the past, is dealt with in a way that is chillingly poetic.
Cassie tracks down the 94-year-old Barbary.
And here's where the Book of Pain becomes an instrument of twisted justice. Lottie Moore, the bookseller, uses the Book of Pain against him, but in reverse.
Instead of inflicting pain, she extracts all his accumulated suffering, all his dark memories, all the pain he had caused, and stored up over nearly a century.
The extraction leaves him utterly empty. The sources state he is reduced to the eyes of a terrified child. The books don't just grant power, they grant the power to fundamentally alter the soul.
He is neutralized, not by death, but by the removal of the very darkness that defined him.
With the tyrants dispatched and her own origin understood, Cassie finds her final peace. She uses the Book of Doors once more to travel back to her grandfather's last moments.
This time, there's no attempt to warn him. She simply holds his hand as he dies, now finding profound joy in their connection and acceptance, rather than pain in the loss.
She ensures Mr. Weber receives the book at the exact time he needs it, confirming the stability of the time loop and her own history. The closure is complete.
The resolution sees the core group, Cassie, Drummond, Izzy, Lund, and Azaki gathering back at the Fox Library, which Drummond has now permanently brought out of the shadows.
And Drummond, recognizing her true place, gives Cassie the original earlier Book of Doors that he had kept safe for 10 years, saying the most important words at the resolution. It feels like the Book of Doors has always been yours.
It's an incredibly dense and layered narrative we've processed today. We synthesize the mechanics of this hidden reality, from the rules governing the movement of the Book of Doors to the fixed nature of time travel through Wagner's closed model.
The idea that you can't change history because your presence in the past was always part of history.
We analyze the incredible power spectrum of the special books, understanding that they are not arbitrary magic, but concentrated emotional artifacts. The horrific certainty of the Book of Pain, the transformative cruelty of the Book of Matter, and the artistic compassion of the Book of Illusion.
And of course, the ultimate secret, that the source of all this magic wasn't divine intervention or ancient prophecy, but Cassie herself, channeling her overwhelming emotional chaos into physical reality, fragmenting her soul into these powerful objects.
It provides this incredible metatextual understanding that the most potent forces in this universe are not external, but internal. The raw, overwhelming power of human feeling made manifest. But if we take this origin story,
that Cassie created these books in the nothing and nowhere, a space outside of linear time,
and combine it with the ultimate freedom, offered by the Book of Doors?
This raises a powerful question for you to consider. The books were scattered throughout reality and time by Cassie. If the Book of Doors can access any door at any point, does the possibility exist that a user could encounter a future or past version of the Book of Doors, potentially leading to even greater unforeseen paradoxes? Or perhaps even encountering a second, older set of books created by a Cassie from a deeper future who herself had traveled back and scattered them again?
The infinite complexity of emotion creating reality and reality folding back upon itself. A wonderful thought to leave percolating until our next deep dive.